Well, I grew up in Germany, really. I went to school right outside Berlin in Potsdam. I came to the US in 1948 as a student. America at the time was the shining city on the hill. Germany was pretty bad. It sucked. And in 1950, I became involved with the Korean conflict. So I left in 1950, and I came back at the end. The armistice was in July 1953. I came back and finished my BA, and then on the GI Bill went to graduate school at the University of Washington. I got to know Americans really through the war. I became commissioned, and I found myself in control of Americans a few years after I was the enemy. I came to KU in the fall of 1961, and I became one of the founders of the Department of Anthropology. We became a department in the academic year 64-65. I have given several times papers that dealt with what I and some of my colleagues call survival strategies of soldiers in any war. And certainly one is, obviously, many soldiers during wartime become very religious, especially Americans. Other soldiers use drugs because you don't need anybody. Alcohol was easily available in war, and I knew many of my fellow soldiers were drunk very often because that's the way you survive. And then there was another one, which is sex. That Americans during the Vietnam War left about 100,000 children. The Americans, I find, are very reluctant really to deal with reality in that sense of coming to terms. And I think war forces you to come to terms with whom you really are. Well, having been to 3 wars, I believe, obviously, in fate. I was a flyer, close to heaven. I was always impressed because we were taught celestial navigation, and facing death, you have to negotiate in a way. Certainly myself, I often thought, if I live another day, then I'll try to be a better human being, and just went on doing my job. I think the people today are not aware that certainly America, in my estimate, has been in a constant conflict since World War II. And people today are not really aware. If you tell them that war is a more constant for the American public than peace, many obviously are completely surprised. But